Seven-figure success starts when you start thinking like a CEO. Welcome to the John Kitchens Coach Podcast Experience. This is your host, John Kitchens. Get ready to think bigger and transform your business into a path to lasting freedom. Joel and I were chatting as Blake jumped in, and we were like, man, like getting people to attend to show up to anything these days is it's a heavy lift. And Blake was like, yeah, we had 6 interviews scheduled yesterday and only 2 people showed up. So it was like, you know, what's happening out there. And, Blake, just love kind of open up that a little bit before we dive in, see if anybody else is going to jump in here with us. But is it just absolute fear that's paralyzing people? What is kind of your perspective, especially the leadership groups and things that you're a part of, like the conversations and the observation that people are having?
I spent a lot of time on this lately. We've been started like recruiting pretty strong the past 4 or 5 months, and just people I'm talking to, people I'm seeing. I've been teaching my team. So I think you've seen the marketplace change, right? With resistance, with headwinds, with buyer resistance, where they're much more resistant to actually, take action. So you're seeing this massive resistance in the marketplace from both sellers who are obviously wanting more money than it's worth, right? Or they bought a couple years ago and values going a little bit. So you're seeing this massive resistance. And so, in my opinion, I've seen the industry change, but what you're seeing is a lot of agents are refusing to develop personally to be able to overcome a lot of that. And it does bring a lot of fear, a lot of paralysis. And I just can see it in people's eyes. I can hear it in their voice. I can see that where they're not doubling down on personal development right now. They're not pushing through in terms of action, where unfortunately it takes more phone calls to get more conversations, to get more people. And I'm just seeing that across the board, right? Where anybody that was in the business for a while, who had things when it was a little bit easier, is just not keeping up with the change that we're seeing in the industry, and is creating that resistance right now. And you're just seeing it be very, very, very painful for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's something that I've seen, just definitely across the country, definitely up in Canada. Just a lot of people, and the ones that have had momentum, that have stayed consistent with something, and really even more so the deep dive in the personal development. They haven't stopped reading. They haven't stopped doing, the daily things within their control. The ones that are navigating through it, even if it is, it is rough, right? It is a lot of white water. It's buckle up for sure. I was kind of poked my head in, obviously hanging out here in Matt and DJ's office here in Pittsburgh, and they were on, they're part of Place, so they have a Monday call. I was here Monday afternoon, and I kind of stuck my head into DJ's office and kind of listened for a second, and then he came out and talked to me. But Ben, so being a part of Place, they have that Monday call with Ben Kinney, and Ben basically said, "Listen, y'all buckle up." He said, "Just buckle up. It's gonna be a ride the rest of this year." But Blake, brother, I appreciate you jumping in here and kind of diving into this month's topic, and really around what there's really nobody that I look up to, that's, I believe, navigating and leading at the level that you have been. And I want to take us back a little bit, and I know Kev and Renee and Joel for sure have heard the story, and we were trying to escape what was happening in 20, and I remember you and I ended up in Key West. I remember it vividly to even this day. The conversation, we were just kind of killing some time before we took off. That last day we were there, and we were sitting over at our a little hideout that have the big old buckets, and
Yeah.
conversation you and I, had, and I had asked you, I said, what's the greatest thing that you guys have done this year? And you didn't even hesitate. You're like daily accountability, daily wins.
Yeah.
And just being able to look back on it, and everybody that I've shared that with and told that story to, that have actually gone on and implemented it, have seen dramatic increase in production, and that have really ran it to the T, and try to emulate what you guys have done. The one thing though that I noticed it did, right? Because we look at culture as just our core values plus the way we behave. And that really is the culture. And what I saw, just kind of from an observation, us running it, more internally, not with so much sales, but with, support and administrative, seeing what you've done, but those that have implemented that as well, I'm like, damn, man, that created a culture of accountability. It created a culture of winning. It created a culture of leadership just by one simple act. And, here we are almost 5 years, whatever later since that's been implemented. What has changed? Like, what has that done, for you? What has that done for your organization as you, really cultivated and created that culture?
Yeah, I mean, that was by far one of the most valuable things we did, and it was during the struggle. And I'm like, man, what do you have to do? And so it's one of those things that we obviously morning huddle every morning, but the key part is having a weekly leader that runs the huddle that entire week. And that was because I was having trouble at the time developing more leaders and having them be able to be leaders. 'Cause it's easy to watch and kind of judge, but once you're there and you're trying to herd cats sometimes, right, and make sure people get their win. And so we win and lose as a team. And so everybody that morning shares a positive from yesterday in the morning huddle, right? Get their mind right and frame it up, and then they have a very specific, clear win for that day. And everybody doesn't. We still do the same exact way. Like I'm actually leading this week, and just through the rotation, I stepped up. We did Monday Mayhem on Monday, which is crazy. We did that a lot. We booked 60 appointments in one day, which was awesome. But like, I still jump in and lead from the front with it. But it's powerful, and like we actually lost one day. Tuesday as an organization, and I went back and reflected what I could have done differently. I was just doing it. I was in there 12 hours just in the office back to back to back, and I got behind a little bit of pushing the one person that I knew was probably behind, and they didn't get their win, and so we lost as a group. We the next morning reflected on it. The agent reflected on it, what they could have done differently, which was time management, getting ahead of it, and so allows us to extract a lesson on whatever the issue is. At the same time, hold ourselves accountable and be real and live by a code where if we don't hit it, we know, we admit it, we don't lie about it, and it's just powerful. So we haven't changed a whole lot since then. It's a grind sometimes, but it's one of those things that we create this environment where people plug in, and anybody comes to different brokerage is like blown away because they're like looking around the first couple of days, like trying to figure out what's going on. And everybody goes around, sets their win, put all the win in the group, and as each person hits their win, we used to put it up on a board with a sticky note, but now we just do it in like our Slack group, and it's powerful, man. And so we watch each person go down. A couple nights this week, we haven't got our team win until like 9 o'clock, but that's just how it goes, and we don't give up until we hit it. But it's been powerful for us, especially in this marketplace where action matters, right? Picking up the phones matter, follow through matters, and that's how we're kind of making a difference as a team.
What does that cadence look like in the calendar for you guys right now? I mean, you have the huddle, and then throughout the day, and then where else are you guys checking in? And Joel and I, yeah, I mean, I hadn't even thought about it since like 2012, 2013 was the 4 Ds of execution. And we talked about that coming into this year, and I'm like, damn, man, that framework is spot on, right?
Right.
Two wildly important goals. What's the one thing that we're rallying the metric? The clear visibility, the scoreboard that really, compelling, that drives behavior and drives action, and then, that cadence of accountability. So what is that cadence that everybody's committed to and bought into on a weekly, daily basis for you guys?
Yeah, so same way, obviously Monday through Friday, we have the morning huddle, daily wins. And Mondays, the people turn in. It's basically a weekly plan that they have. It's a one key, basically one thing and four keys. So what's the one thing most important they're going to hit that week? They have four keys that they're going to get it. It's one pager. Take a picture of it, post in our group, and then each person posts it on Monday. And you kind of base it around. So it's like how many. The one thing is obviously you get a contract in most cases for like general brokerage or buyers agents. Listing partners are to get two contracts is kind of their goal under contract. And we break that down by how many dials they need for the week. Typically, it's been 500. Now with connection rates being a little bit less, you'd probably need to push that closer to 800 to 1,000, depending on marketplace, who they are, how many appointments they booked, how many people are signed. And there's a free one, number four, for the fourth key is like, what do I need to do to develop personally for me to help move that along? So they can really change the fourth one. And so that sets the tone for the whole week. And so basically, then your daily win is kind of broken down based on what your four keys for the week are. And the cadence of the leader kind of leads the morning huddle, lunchtime check-in, afternoon check-in, end of day check-in, and then typically there's updates to the night. And so what most leaders learn when they do it is that they'll always try to start to lead in the group, right? Lead as a whole. And what they realize is it takes a lot more one-on-one touches, a lot more reaching out via phone call, via text message, via instant messenger, through Google, to make sure you can stay on top of who's falling behind, who's getting caught up, and who's behind on their win, aka their dials in most cases. And as they learn that, it makes a much better leader because now they're reaching out individually faster. You know what to look for, and then obviously give an update at the end of the night, typically, but at or before 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that's wild. How are they from a leadership perspective? I mean, still leading at the front, doing what they say they're going to do as well,
Oh
based
yeah,
upon
I
what their
can.
commitment is.
And that's what's the coolest part about it is you watch people kind of level up there. I don't think I've ever seen the leader not hit theirs, which has been interesting because it kind of makes them be the example. We all kind of talk about that. And then at the end of each week, we kind of go back the next Monday and ask that leader, hey, what was the biggest lesson you learned about two things? Number one, what's the biggest lesson you learned about you as a leader and what you could do different? And then number two, what's the biggest thing you learned about other people? And that typically is they learn like, man, you got to be a lot more interactive, a lot more one-on-one with them, which is a lesson that goes back to lead follow-up because people try to think linear, right? They just try to think like get X amount of calls, X amount of text messages versus how do I go deeper, not wide, right? And go deeper with the potential leads and connect with them and get a better relationship with them and have the ability to figure out where they're at and what's going on. So it bleeds over into follow-up too. And so that's been really powerful for us as a whole.
Are you guys like, everything collectively together? I mean, how often, I mean, are you pushing everybody to get in the office? Are you getting them to get in and
Yeah,
make
so our
make the
huddle is
calls
is
together?
is in person in the office, and so the majority of people are there. We track huddle attendance. You know, some people have other stuff come up here and there, but to maintain leads, they need to have a certain huddle attendance, and we don't do virtual with it just based on our structure. We thought about if we get bigger and maybe get really big, we can do that virtually, but for now, it's just in person. I noticed that we did that kind of during COVID. After COVID, there's a little bit of a hangover. People just call in, and you could just feel the energy wasn't quite there. They're kind of calling in their win, but they weren't following through. And there's just an energy about being around other people, being around winners. Upstairs, we have like music playing, people on the phones. You can hear so and so talk, and so it's kind of uncomfortable to not be on the phones when everyone else is on the phones. And so we obviously make our calls 9 to 11. Some people 9 to 12, based on what their target is, and then that's in the morning. In the afternoon, they're doing appointments.
Yeah. I love that. And I mean, I do. I love the, bringing them in together, right? It's just that forced accountability. You got to step it up. There was nowhere to hide.
Well, that's the one
And
thing I'm hearing right now with so many agents as we've started this outreach and recruiting. Because I'm telling you, there's a massive shuffling of the deck right now. You're seeing just agents across the country are seeing a lot more headwinds. Even me, I'm seeing agents in the marketplace that are other companies been here for 10, 15 years, or their business is down like 50%, 60%. They can't figure out what's going on. But the big thing I'm hearing are two main things. Number one, they feel alone, right? They're not sure what to do, what's going on, how to adjust. And number two, the environment that they're around hasn't really been conducive for them to be able to plug into. And so they need the energy to feed off of, they need the environment to feed off of. And so that's what we've been providing and creating as a part of our culture to really, help push through it and help push the resistance.
yeah, and man, and Renee even messaged me about this and just like, have you seen Sloan's social media? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, it's, I mean, I love it. It's definitely, the language. Where, are you, and I know all the work that you've done personally, and then just, how that's just become who you are and then just carries off into your organization. And, is there a certain kind of mantra? I mean, what are you starting to see the language that even, your agents that are coming in, obviously that have been there? I mean, is it a lot of, finally getting that everybody pulsing together, speaking the same language, saying the same thing, thinking the same way?
Yeah, and I made a conscious decision, I don't know, however months it was, maybe January, February, like dude, F it, I'm leading from the front during this because I could just feel it, right? You could feel the resistance. I'm like, something's just going on, something's different, right? With the industry and things going on and deals and just so I'm like, dude, I'm leading from the front, I'm leading by example. And I'm just like, I'm gonna put it out there and you guys see my stuff, right? I'm up early, I'm doing my morning journal by 5:20, usually every single morning, gym by 6, and just all this stuff. And I just here's the key thing that I wanted to share. And you see with me a lot of times, my stories be the same thing every day. And the reason is most people struggle with consistency. And so I'm just being the example, right? And I'm living from the front and showing my team that. And a lot of people have done it. Some of the guys on my team started doing it, which is super cool, right? So you're seeing them do that, and they're starting to post in the morning, and they're doing their stack and they're reading. And so And here's what I told them, like, dude, even if nobody does it, I'm still doing the same exact thing. Market's up, great, I'm doing the same thing. Market's down, doing the same thing. People leave my team, doing the same exact thing. People join my team, same exact thing. Why? Because I'm going to control the controllables and I'm leading from the front. And that's the key part of what's been in. And it's given me so much more power and certainty when I'm doing in a time where it's been difficult. But I think that what people are missing right now in many cases is that power of consistency, right? The boring work that
Yeah,
has you work on you, but that's the only thing that brings you certainty and power, which is what's needed right now to get through this resistance place market that we're in.
I love it, man. And no, it is the boring, and it is the consistency and being able to do that, and obviously lead from the front. And it's really cool when you start to see it, like you said, right? They're starting to
Oh
do the
yeah,
same
I saw
thing,
a couple
and
yesterday.
it's
I
like,
smiled real big. I'm like, oh, there we go, and it's just cool to see that they kind of pick it and they're doing it. And I didn't even, I don't talk about too much, but I'm just saying, I told them I'm leading for the front. I'm never asking you guys to do something I don't do, and that's the one thing that we're kind of living by, like you said, is a pulse as a culture. We've added some people lately and churned out some of the people that have been here for a while that just don't want to make the adjustments, and you're kind of feeling that energy of it, but I'm kind of told everybody, look, man, you're going to have to change your habits. You got to change the ways to dominate through this right now. And anybody that does that's going to be able to capture so much market share, right? I was told some guys this morning, like, look, um, listings right now in our marketplace, like 120 days on market. Think we were looking yesterday, only 10% of listings are actually pending, which is crazy if you look at the whole MLS. So like it's difficult like that. I'm like, man, but I was telling him like, dude, this is a time where you're doubling on personal development, doubling down on your development, and you're pushing through. This is like that storm in Forrest Gump, right? The shrimp boats are getting pushed around, but as soon as that storm's gone, it's wide open and we're just scooping up all the shrimp, right? And that's kind of where we're at. I feel like you mentioned that whitewater, but it takes doubling down on you, doubling down as a leader, doubling down on your health and physicality and your energy and the ability to sustain through what's going on and be able to dominate when most people, like you said, are frozen, they're paralyzed, they're not showing up, they're not sure what to do, and that's when you need that certainty and clarity to help push you through.
what habits are you like, hey man, you need to prioritize these habits? And if you give them kind of a sequence, I mean, I know it's a kind of a melting pot, but it's like, listen, I mean, obviously consistency, but like, hey, focus on this. Don't even give any energy to this. Like, what's that mantra that you're constantly repeating to them?
We're kind of always, I mean, we've been sticking to that body being balanced in business, right? So number one, power. You have to have power right now in your body. I'm down 20 pounds this
Giddy up,
year.
brother.
So,
That's
which
awesome.
is, and that's diets dialed in, macros are dialed in. And that was a massive lesson for me where I worked at this gym 6 days a week for 9 years and just kind of hovered the same place and finally made the investment into a IFBB pro, bodybuilding coach who got my macros dialed in, workouts dialed. I'm working out less time wise, less intense, but the results are off the chain. Why? Because my macros are dialed in. And that's a great example for business right now. And I tell my team, like, there are macros of business that people are just off. You can do the same thing for 9 years and not get results, or you can find somebody who's doing what you need to do and what your goals are and have them dial your macros in for you and hold you accountable and get massive results in a short period of time. But right now, body's a huge one. Why? Because you need energy to sustain. Number two, obviously your being, which is a mental piece, which is why I should every morning I'm doing my journal. Why is that? Because it's a mental battle right now. It's a long-term marathon of the mindsets who can push through just constant resistance, constant setbacks, constant challenges, right? If you're team leader, especially team leaders are very difficult. At least I'm hearing right now. I'm seeing a lot of it. You got to make sure that you have a clear mind to help push you through that. And so that's through personal development. And number two, dealing with your own shit, right? Your stories and the things that you run. And so part of that, my morning journal routine is to call myself out on my bullshit and make sure all my stories real. And that's been super powerful. And then same time, relationships, right, with those that matter in your life, because you can't neglect that to help manage the business part. But that's really been obviously key. Got two kids, 2.5 year old, 10-month old. So that's a lot, and that's chaos in itself. And then obviously the business is what matters the most. But all that together brings in the power to push through. And most people right now are kind of running for the hills, or they're paralyzed and not really sure what to do.
What are the macros that you're having on the business side to focus on that you're saying, hey, hit these critical metrics? This is like great example, like you said, right? 6 days a week, the gym, like hovering around the same thing, right? And you know what has to change. And so loving dialing in those macros. But what's
So,
the
so
macros on
we've
the
been
business?
there's a lot of different pieces. So we really kind of obviously dials number one with outbound, and I like really kind of what Dustin Runyon said lately too about connections is super important because I think you've seen connection rate go down a little bit lately. So we kind of bumped. We used to be 100 dials a day, which would be 10 to 20 connections, but now we're seeing about an answer rate about 10%. So it really needs to be 200 dials, and so a lot of people are kind of pushing that. But ideally, like 20 conversations a day is really the target you're seeing a lot of people have. Number two, appointments, either buyer appointments or listing appointments, depending on what side of they're on or what your business model looks like overall. And then the one thing we've been really huge on right now against resistance. So what would happen is we'd sign buyers, they go cold, right? Sign buyers, they won't reach out to the lender, they won't answer the lender. The same thing with listings, we'd list them and they had to do a few things. So we've been really big on setting deadlines for the client as soon as we sign them. So we sign the client, told my team, hey, look, here's what's going to happen. We're going to go look at properties in 48 hours, whatever, if they're local. We either pick 48 or 72 hours. So let's say I sign them on Monday, right? I'm going to say, hey, John, here's the deal. On Wednesday, we're going to look at houses. We're going to pick your top five. I need you to get those to me by tomorrow from the list I send you so we can have the top five to look at. I'll book them tomorrow night. We're going to look at them on Wednesday. And what we're doing there is still trying to push them through while they're still hot, right? Because you notice they get super hot, they warm up, and they get cold. They get hot and they get cold. And so we're seeing that a lot with people are getting frustrated because the buyers are hot and cold. And again, why is that? Because there's resistance to the marketplace, right? Higher interest rates. You're seeing, a gap between affordability for a lot of people and what they want. And so we've been really big at setting deadlines for them. And so once I set the 48-hour deadline for the buyers, then we set the 24-hour deadline for the lender. Hey, look, my lender's going to call. We need to make sure that pre-approval handled by tomorrow evening. So my lender XYZ is going to call you tonight or tomorrow, whatever the day is. We want to have that by tomorrow so we can go look at properties on Wednesday and we'll have all that lined up for you. And so what we found was when we booked the 48-hour meeting, it encouraged them to make sure they actually answered for the lender to get pre-approved, and that was just a major breakthrough for us that we figured out a couple months ago.
I love that. Really taking the leadership role and navigating the conversation, really navigating, not letting it just kind of linger out there, like you said, really taking control and driving, the situation. I mean,
Yeah,
I love
that's been,
that.
and here's the other thing that we found has been a big breakthrough for us is a lot of agents were taking the path least resistance, right? So we follow a lot of leads. We're a vacation destination, so a lot of our 80% of our buyers are not from they're not here, right? So what we were doing is anybody local we've always booked appointments with face to face, met them, signed them, that process, whatever. But we were finding a lot of non-locals or even agents were just getting very soft and just trying to get their criteria and be like the nice guy and be their buddy, but they're getting
Sure.
smoked in the long run. And so we've really pushed. And I think that in any location in the country right now, the new currency is appointments, right? Appointments. You have to push. And so we proved that, when we just did that Monday Mayhem, we went for a huge push. We gave cash awards for whoever got the first person to 20 connections, and then whoever had the most appointments at the end of the day. And what we found was um, people were like, realize that one of the biggest lessons when we went back and debriefed, I was like, man, I didn't realize how much I was not pushing for appointments when I could have. And even our inside sales guy, this is a funny story. I ain't cussing here, right? Or no?
Yeah,
Yep.
you
Okay.
can damn
Okay.
sure
So
cuss.
the inside sales guy is awesome, right? So he has this lead. He calls this lead, and the guy it was like a cash offer lead from one of our stuff. And the guy goes, he said, "Well, how much you looking for your house?" And he said, the guy says, "Fuck you." And he's like, "Oh," he said, "Man, I've been doing this for a long time. I haven't got that one in a while." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And long story short, he goes back and asks him a few questions and books the fucking appointment with the guy. But he said the major lesson was that if it wasn't such a focus on appointments, he would have got triggered, given the guy some shit back, and he would have basically blown that lead and blown the opportunity. But just having that laser focus on the appointment allowed him to save him. We met with the guy. I'm pretty sure we got him listed. I haven't gone through the whole list yet, but I was just going through some stuff this morning that the appointment was met, appointment was held by our listing partner by a dude who
That's
started out with
wild.
his first word as "fuck you," which is crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. And I think, just the conversations we've had with folks and kind of the direction and especially with the AI, craze and just everything that's happening. I mean, it still has to be, from the forefront from a mindset, perspective and understand, it goes back to even Chris Voss, right? Tactical empathy and really being able to understand. And you and I've talked a lot about this, and it's definitely, my coach Matt, his whole smoke and fire. And it's like, listen, that trigger, that fuck you is just smoke, right?
Yeah.
Like, and don't get choked up in it and get triggered, like you said, and get down to, okay, let me explore what's going on here. Where's the
Yeah.
fire at?
And typically that's just a great question and great uh, runway of emotions, right? Where most people are so wound up right now. They're so reactive. And that's why those morning, dealing with your stuff and dealing with your stories and getting your mind right and having that all dialed in helps you because it gives you the capacity and the runway to help basically observe them instead of react to them. And so at that point, you're just immovable, right? Hey, no problem. I appreciate that. What makes you say that? And the guy ended up saying like, oh, you guys just want to take my money for your cash offer, whatever it was, and we went back and just asked you questions, explained that wasn't the case, explained our track record, who we are, what we do. Boom, appointment's booked, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is freaking awesome. What I know for you, obviously a lot into, the kind of the warrior and the stack. What do you give? Do you provide that for your team? Do you give them that framework if they want it, or like how do you go about kind of distributing the stuff that you're consuming, the stuff that's working for you?
I share my stuff. I share by example. There's a few of them that I've had them, they just sign up for their own account with that too. But we built out over the years um, Google Sheets and Google Forms where they can go in this kind of stack and ask questions. We've had to simplify it in many cases for a larger adoption, right? But we just want to get them to really do two things. Number one, question their stories, right? Most people are just emotional pinballs that are bouncing around on everything that's happening all around them. And so part of that's like, man, how do we just help you get your stories in control? That's the first step. And that's what everybody says once they come. You're like, man, it's like being in the Matrix. All of a sudden, you're watching everyone around you be triggered all the time and have issues and be such emotional, roller coasters. And so with that, it's like, why lesson imply, right? What happened? Why is that actually a positive instead of negative, right? What's a lesson behind that I can learn from and get better from? Then how do I apply that to all four areas of my life? And that's been very powerful for us. And we kind of have that simplified version, but then there's also some large ones. But yeah, so we have the software they can get from obviously Warrior. We have kind of some stuff built out for them, which has been really helpful. And half probably choose to use it and do it. But whenever somebody gets triggered or has issues, they kind of go through that. But it's funny, our team will kind of go through and they'll have something to go, I know what you're going to say. I'm like, what's that? It's a great story, but and ideally they already know because they're questioning them stories and they're understanding before, like, look, the narrative I'm running in my head may not necessarily be fact, but in my head I feel that it's true. And so the reality is once you start questioning your stories, you start looking at the world a lot differently.
I love that. How are you? So, I mean, obviously being able to break through, you've established the trust with the agents on the team. How's the conversations with the agents in the marketplace? I mean, I know you said like a lot of them are given some of that feedback. They're not having opportunities, accountability, environment. There's just a lot of not being provided what they need out there. So, what are they gravitating to you just through content, social media? I mean, are you being aggressive, putting some ads out there? Are you cold calling out agents? Like, how are you connecting with agents?
Yeah, it's been a great, interesting journey. I've had this like journey where I was like in my bubble for so long. We just attracted people. I didn't do any outbound recruiting myself. We had a sales manager that was supposed to be doing it. He was not doing it effectively. We replaced him in a Q1 and have some guy in there doing it now. But I basically stepped up doing it too because I wanted to get my again lead from the front, and it's just been so eye opening the past few months of just what people are experiencing out there. And I find that most people just don't have great leadership. They don't have great guidance. They don't have great targets or tools or anything. I'm asking, hey, what scripts you guys got? They don't really have much. What presentations you guys? They don't have much. What's your self development look like? They don't really have much, right? And so I feel like they're just kind of feeling like they're in treading water right now in so many cases, seeking leadership, looking for people that can guide them. And it's been eye opening. Like, man, holy, and that's what even our sales manager and we got a recruiter now too is like, dude, it's crazy how no one really has anything like this out there. And so I think that's a big gap that can be filled very easily by people willing to lead right now and willing to
Yeah.
lead by example and willing to lead out loud.
What are besides the, you know, just making the calls, like what else are you kind of pushing on them to kind of put some more, stability into their business model, be it focus on these two things, focus on these three things. Like, are you, pushing them with open houses? Are you pushing them with, social media? Like, where else are you kind of, like, hey, we're seeing traction here. You need to, take a hard look at this.
For team agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, the number one struggle with any agent, if I found, is just consistency, right? They ride the roller coaster, they get a lot of deals, and except for your top producers that you have, they're consistent, animals that you kind of just keep developing them based on what they have. But for the most part, it's just massive. They need consistency, and so we provide that structure. But then, I mean, there's a lot of pieces to it right now. So like right now, I've just kind of been talking a lot, like I mentioned earlier, we're seeing just a lot of resistance, right? So how do I help them overcome that? We're doing obviously open houses for people that work really well. We've helped them get their social game up. That's a lot of things people are struggling with too. As I've had these outreaches, I'm like, I look up their stuff. They haven't posted since 2022, 2023. And
Yeah.
I taught my team this on Tuesday, like 90% of buyers and sellers, once you call them as a lead, look you up immediately on Facebook. And so if you're a secret agent or if you don't have anything on there that's inspiring or really shows that you're an expert in what you do, they're looking at somebody else, or their perception of you is already in a negative light where they don't see you as the expert. And so part of that, we just kind of broke down this kind of 2025 social media triangle where you have to have enough business stuff out there to show, look, I'm an expert at what I do. I'm very good at what I do. But then you see that a lot of the agents that post, they're like only business, right? And that just, you can tell it's not believable. It doesn't look genuine, doesn't look real. And so any of your clients and past clients that are friendly will unfriend you and follow you. But anybody that looks you up, they know it's total bullshit. So you have to have that second piece, which is personal, right? How they connect with you as a person. How do I know who John Kitchens truly is? And we just talk about, things to share with that. Family, dogs, if they have dogs, right? People connect with dog people. People connect with people like them. What about the lifestyle? Like, what type of things are you passionate about? What do you do in the community? Those type of things make a big difference. Then obviously, the third part of the triangle we taught and had was just about being an ambassador. And so we're in Myrtle Beach, and we're like, hey, how are you an ambassador about Myrtle Beach? Sharing things that you're doing that people are seeing and liking. For example, a lot of our clients are from up north, and so they're up north in Pittsburgh, right? Think about, man, I want to be at the beach and all this stuff. And so we kind of hit that part about it. We're just hitting all those, man. I mean, we're hitting all that stuff really because it's a very complex marketplace right now.
Yeah, it is. That's no, I love that. And, I mean, guilty of it as well, right? Kind of, fallen, stagnant, kind of getting paralyzed. For you, just even mentioning what Renee had pointed out earlier in the year, does a lot of your content come from that morning journaling, the morning reflection?
Yeah, I mean, so it's just ask myself questions and get myself lessons. Man, I had one this morning I was going to share. I haven't had time to share it yet, but it's like it's so true. Like it's just yeah, I have so many lessons. I'll just show you like the one I just had. I mean, it's powerful to just look at, but it's like I screenshot it, so I was going to share it later. But it's just this is my lesson from the stack before. But it just says all the shit you're worried about and stressed about right now, you want to remember in a year or two. Quit worrying and stay focused on the solution. It's not emotional. It's just taking the right amount of action needed. You'll be fine, right? And you just look at this. So it's a matter of reframing the brain, going through that. But I made a decision just to start living out loud a little bit. I could be much better at it. But the second thing too is like after having children, I look at my social as a way for them to know who their dad is, right? And so
Mm,
many people just kind of live like this quiet desperation or they're scared to post stuff out there and like they have so many memories and options and things about their voice and things about who they are they just let die in their phone. And so like you've seen some of my stuff, we travel a lot, posting that stuff with it, and at the end of every year we there's a software and service that'll print all your best photos out for you, the most liked photos. It has an algorithm for it, and it'll print it and put it in a hardcover book and just send it to you. And so that's been my two ways looking at it. Number one, obviously attracting the right people, living out loud and just living from the front for my own team of people. But number two, my children knowing who I am as a father and as a man and as a businessman.
might be one of the best nuggets I've gotten all year. So I appreciate that. That is that's awesome. And it goes back to exactly what, I've learned a ton from you, but that being it is just constantly reframing it into the to what's right, right?
Yeah.
Into, the real truth and being able to be like, listen, man, there's a lot of things, but leaving that for the kids, right? To really see, okay, all right, this is who my dad really is. That's
Yeah, like
man, that's awesome.
intellectual levels of like, how did my dad think, right? How did my dad like, for me, like, I think I maybe have my dad died like 12, 13 years ago. I have like six pictures of my dad, right? Like there's that, but like how much cool. And it may not be a big difference, like I don't know how long I'll be here, obviously, but the reality is I want to be able to look back 15, 20 years from now on that timeline and be like, dude, this is crazy. I want to be able for him to look and watch some videos or watch some of the things that's my thoughts. And I don't really give a shit what people think that like it, don't like it. My friends, my aunt, my people I went to high school with, right? I care about two things: people who are my avatar, right? Who is an agent that may potentially be a part of our team, but number two, my children, when they look at that and read that down the line, be like, man, my dad was a badass. That's who he was, and that's what he did.
I love that. I love that. Well, Kev, Renee, Joel, since you guys, carved out the time and jumped in here. I mean, shit, I could sit here and talk to Blake all day, but I just want to open it up to you guys, whatever questions, being able to pick Blake's brain a little bit.
Yeah, you talked about kind of what the marketplace is looking for right now. What are you looking for with the agents you're recruiting? Being a leader is keeping the who you're allowing into the team and into the circle. Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, we've really talked about that a lot lately. Number one, people want to do the work, right? I think that that gets exposed very, very quickly. Everybody talks great game. Everybody has, reasons why they don't. And that's been an interesting process for us to identify agents that are just a level 8 or 9, talent, but in a level 2 or 3 opportunity, right? And so I'm trying to find those people, like who's an 8 or 9, or even seven, 7, 8, or 9 talent, but they're in a level 2 or 3 opportunity. Because all of them are in a 2 or 3 opportunity. But what I've talked to so far, like no one has any of the stuff that we have, or the self development, or the tools, or the process, or the support. And so I'm trying to find those people, like who is out there praying right now for some type of breakthrough of somebody like me to reach out to them, right? And number two, people that are from other industries. We're getting a lot of people still come in, but right now it's a heavy lift, right? It's a heavy lift for people that are brand new outside the industry. And so I want somebody who's hungry, who has something to prove, and that's the two main things, right? I find the pattern is that the people I'm talking to that are making it have something to prove. And typically I'll come up and something happened in their childhood, something that happened with their parents, or they were, parents got divorced, parent died. They have somebody who told them they would never be anything, whatever it is. I'm looking for that edge right now and that chip on their shoulder that can take them and put them in power and give them right tools, and they're absolutely going to run with it. Because I do find that suicide right now in business is trying to push a bunch of people who don't want to do the work and who aren't motivated, right? That's the hardest thing I think is very difficult for a lot of people.
How are you pulling that out of them? I mean, what's the dialogue? What's that conversation? How are you trying to, uncover and pull that hunger and that, they do have that chip on their shoulder. They're wanting to prove something.
Yeah, that's the one thing I always been teaching our recruiter and our sales manager, and they've been watching me. And he's like, dude, watch you do interviews way different than the guy before, because I'm going deep about them and who they are and what they do, and I'm looking for the second and third level questions about their story and why. Like they'll give me one or two things that I can go down the rabbit hole with, and I'll be tell me more about that. And I'm looking for like what motivates you? Where do you think that comes from? Where does that come from in your childhood? What was your childhood like? Did you play sports growing up? What was it like when you lost? What was it like when you won? Right? I want the guy who hates to lose. I don't really care about the one who just likes to win when it's convenient. I want the one that hates to lose, because me, I'm gonna fight way harder not to lose than I am to win. And
Dude, I,
so,
I can't agree with you more. Like literally, I'll assess these days, like probably over the last 10 years, I really assess because I'm like you, I hate to lose. So I really assess the probability of me playing that game based upon my skill set. And if the probability that I can't win, I won't even play. Just
right,
because I know how it triggers me and I know how like I don't like it'll eat at me and like I will back away from a Monopoly game.
yeah.
That's how bad if I don't have the time to sit and win, like I just won't play. And I just think that's but I love how you can pull that out of people and being able to go and why that's important.
And
That
I'll tell you
that's
the one of the biggest lessons I gave Ryan, our sales manager, and he was like, man, he just had this big aha after like sitting with me a few times. He's like, you go so deep with these people. I'm like, yeah, because I care, right? And I'm trying to connect with them at a soul level. I don't care about your bullshit interview answers, right? And I'll tell them that, look, just be real, like open, real. This is a real open conversation. You don't feel like you got to give me the interview answers. I want to know who the real John Kitchens is, and I kind of give them the
Mhm.
opportunity and the openness to be themselves, and they can feel that with me. And then I obviously am able just to kind of go deeper, but I'm just flowing in a state of flow of what I feel from them and what they're kind of guiding me based on their story, based on where they come from, based on what they like, they don't like. And sometimes I don't get them. Hey, what really motivates you right now, John, to be successful in this business? And they'll give me one or two things. And like I interviewed this girl yesterday, and she was kind of like guarded at another brokerage, new home sales. and I finally got her open up when she finally came that, hey, my mom was a single mom and there was 4 kids and my mom never had money for us and we struggled and I had to get my first job when I was 13. And all of a sudden, boom, now we start getting to, and now I start getting to who the core of that person really is and what really drives him. And then that led to, that's why I worked 2 jobs myself through college and get a degree. And then I went back, got my MBA. And so all that stuff kind of started stacking up. And it really came to the ultimate driver was that moment when she was obviously didn't have the dad around, single mom was fighting, saw mom fighting, and did not want to be in that same situation.
Ugh, dude, that's so good. And does that allow you to kind of anchor into that, even if they do come on board, you still have that as that kind of that motivational trigger that you can push on when,
Absolutely, and,
when they do.
again, it's in a positive light, right? And I just know like people that win like that have something to prove, and it's just for me, like I've been on my own since I was 17, right? I don't ever want to go
Hmm.
back to zero. I'll fucking do anything not to go back to zero and have that pain and eat at Walmart on $30 a week, dude. I'm never doing that again, right? And so that's the thing that I'm looking for, who will be willing to, because like it's a painful process to get good at real estate. It's a painful process to get good at sales. It's a painful process to become elite in this business, and you need someone who has that why behind them to push through that fight.
Yeah, that's so good. Kev, what you got? I know you got some questions there.
Well, I just look back and Blake, you talk about consistency, and I met you and it was 2009 or 10. You were in a five-piece suit, and they did the King Kong Award with Mike and Jay, and you come walking up in the slick back hair, and I'm like going, "Who is this kid?" And it's like but you from that day forward, it's like you are you walk the walk. Like, I mean, and you're very consistent, and I admire you for that. And I mean, I have a
Appreciate
page
that.
full of notes, and we've had so many conversations, and every time we talk, it's something different, but it's still you're so clear on your path and what you believe, and you can see that, and you can see it when you became a dad and how you speak, and again, I go back to your words of wanting your kids to understand their dad and who you are as a man. I mean, that's very impactful and it's powerful. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, so good.
I have a question.
Sure.
So you said you're looking for level 8 or 9 talent in a level 2 or 3 opportunity. Are you specifically targeting individuals that recognize that they're in a level 2 or 3 opportunity? I mean, I would imagine through your transactions, your co-brokes, you see people that like have some amazing talent. You're like, man, I just can't believe they're over there
Yeah.
doing that with that company. Are you going after those people that may not know they're in a level 2 or 3 opportunity? Or are you looking for people that are more self-aware that they're in that level 2 or 3 opportunity?
I'm looking for people in pain, right? So like, and I can see it. And we have some software, that shows like their business being down or what's going on. Or we have like an avatar of the transactions they fit for like a team. Right now, if I'm recruiting for like a EXP or something like that, it'd be a different. You can recruit any level there, but the reality is for my team at least. I'm looking for people that are in pain, but what I'm finding is they don't realize they're in a level 2 or 3 opportunity. They just think that's how all real estate places are, right? And that has been a big aha for me. Like I thought they would all just like be blown away once we start talking about this because they've never seen anything like it. They never had this type of support, this type of help, this type of leadership. But they've been um, so used to mediocrity, like that it's hard for them to believe. And like I talked to somebody just last week, that it's like hard for them to even believe that it was real. And this one lady, I'm like, what's been the biggest thing that was what's the biggest thing for you to really that you like about what we have? And she's like, I just don't know if I can believe it because I had person lied to me after lie to me, basically 3 different brokerages that she was at. I think I posted about the other day, where they promised her everything, delivered nothing. And that was like just the biggest aha to me of like, man, the hardest thing for me to get past is just like their consistency of being let down and having to help build that trust of like, hey, there is actually a real thing out there that can help you, and to build that trust for them. But yeah, I'm looking for people who are in pain. They were successful, they had stuff going on, and the business has gone backwards, or they're brand new and they're very hungry and they can make it. They just don't have the right support around them. And so we hired another agent a month and a half ago. She was a different brokerage, startup brokerage, had no support. It was an independent brokerage. She had no guidance. The lady didn't even help her write her first contract. She ended up buying her own Zillow leads, kind of figuring it out, and brought her onto us. She's got four in a contract in like a month and a half. I mean, it's one of those things that they were just amazing salesperson, lots of talent, and the wrong opportunity. And so obviously you got to sift through a lot of people that aren't that good or that talk the good game or I look for things like victim language, right? There's a lot of victim language there, then typically that's going to be someone who doesn't take ownership of what they have
Mm.
or the results. And so I'm looking at people like, man, I'm working my ass off right now. I'm not getting the support I need, but I know I can do this. I've been trying to do this. I'm like, well, what have you done? And I usually look for two things. If they go on YouTube and try to figure stuff out, they're probably self-starters, which means like, okay, they're pretty good at trying to figure things out, right? Or they bought their own Zillow leads, or they did something else, or whatever. And so I can take people like that who are self-starters, plug them into our system, and they'll be massively successful. And that's been very powerful.
What do you do? I think a lot of us, Blake, run into where we want them to be more, we want success for them more than they want it for themselves.
Yeah,
And and I think that's probably personally been one of my biggest challenges the last several years, especially with the market the way it was, is you try everything to make them successful, and it just seems like they're like they just don't get it, and they're just flat ass lazy, and they won't do it. Like, what is your when you bring somebody on, what is that first, how do you entrench them into the belief of believing in you and the system, or I guess, or those qualifying questions to know that you got the right person?
yeah, that's a great question, and it's difficult, man. I'm not gonna lie about that, right? But so we do two things, and I've just worked with my leadership team, basically my sales manager recruiter lately about this. And I've screwed up on this before. The key part is once bringing them over, hiring them is having that pre-frame conversation of like, look, here's the deal. Let's have a conversation about the reality of the market. It's what I call it. And so it's super tough. It's very difficult right now, but you can be very successful. It's going to take a lot of work. It's not going to be easy. And you're going to have to make sure that you push through this and you develop yourself. And then I talk about two things. Number one, trust the process. Number two, don't quit. Over and over and over. Number one, trust the process. Number two, don't quit. Over and over and over. When that we have a successful brand new, and hey, here's the deal. Trust the process, don't quit. Because I find that the two main reasons people fail is they want to do their own thing, right? It's perfect. They have everything. We're all guilty of this. I'll never forget with that bodybuilding coach guy I had, right? He had this weird like diet. My diet was kind of weird, my macros, and it just didn't make sense. I feel like I was like overeating a couple things, and I asked him, and he goes, "Man, hey, how about just follow the process exactly and shut the fuck up?" And I was like, "Okay," and I did it, and it worked exactly how it's supposed to. And I was just a powerful lesson, And I'm like, dude, just why do that? Like this dude's a professional bodybuilder. Here I'm questioning his stuff because I think I know what I'm talking about, and our agents do it the same way. And so it was just so powerful for him to say that, and thankfully he had the results and the frame on me for him to be able to tell me that and listen and me not get, obviously I'll get triggered with that. But I was like, yeah, you're right. And I said, I think I wrote, what I wrote back, I said, like not check, but I basically said, got it, confirm, whatever. And then I did the T and he's like, told you. And it worked exactly how it's supposed to. But the key thing I do think that I missed on a lot and I screwed this up a lot is I didn't pre-frame him so hard between the hire and the coming on and the start date, right? It's like the morning of, the day of, here's the outline, here's the plan, here's what we're doing. And that needs to be like a sit down meeting for a while and just say, look, here's the deal. And tell them, hey, here's the deal, Kevin. Like the last thing I want is for me to want your success more than you do. And I'm going to lead you through this, but I'm not going to save you. And you have to do the work.
That's
You have to
great.
be willing to do the work. But if you're willing to do the work, I'll guarantee you one thing. You won't outwork me. I'll lead you from the front, and I'm never going to ask you to do anything that I don't do. And the two rules we live by, number one, trust the process. Number two, don't quit. And they say it over and over and over and over because we have to be reminded. They have to be reminded. And I think that's something that's a big lesson that I would go back and do a lot differently.
That's
Dude, that's
great.
so
Thank you.
good. I'm gonna lead you. I'm not gonna save you. That's uh I love that. That's
Yeah.
that's that's way powerful. Way powerful.
Because if you have to save them, they'll crucify you at the end every time, right? You'll be the one they blame. You'll be the one that they try to place blame. And here's the deal: there's going to be some that don't do the work, and they all, may look like they do it. Some don't. Some will. Some won't. So what? But you just got to make sure that you have enough coming on that they can kind of sort themselves out. And that's been a lesson I've learned too, right? The Navy SEAL stuff is hard to do in this marketplace. You gotta have to seek out, find the right ones. Half may make it, and they do. Then I want the ones that want to run with me, and that's it.
Yeah. That's so good. I love that. Brother, you're absolutely amazing, man. I can't thank you enough for jumping in here. Just like Kev, man, I've got 2 pages of notes, and as always, it's man, I can't say how much I appreciate you, and even more so, just being an incredible human, amazing friend, and so proud of you. Just even like
Yeah,
Kev,
love you, brother. Love you guys, man. Appreciate you all.
love
Thanks
you
for having
too.
me, man. Anything I ever do, let me know. And hey, you guys, man, y'all have all helped me in some way, in some form, and I'm very grateful for that. And most of it, man, just know we're not alone, right? We're out here fighting the fight, doing our thing, and just one step after another, as most people kind of give up.
Yeah, for sure. Brother, appreciate you
All right,
guys.
man.
Thank you, and
Love you guys.
see you guys soon. Love you.
Bye bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Blake.
That's a wrap for today. I hope you got something valuable from this episode. If you did, hit follow and visit johnkitchens.coach for more ways we can work together. See you on the next episode.